little brunettes with perfect haircuts on stage. Soak it in, it only happens once. Cate, Clea and I both have hair crushes on Cate.
It's true.
I have hair crushes on both of you. Probably because we all have the same hair. That's impossible. How would you ever?
I would feel like bangs. I am obsessed with bangs. All right, Cate.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your journey around bangs, but more importantly, we know we can talk about why we have them. This is bad art.
It's not bad bangs.
Not bad bangs.
Yet.
Bad bangs.
Coming in 2024.
How did you become the artist you are today?
That's a big question. Not being seen as a child, combined with shame and desperation for attention and validation, and maybe a good imagination from spending hours alone in my room, staring at the needle point on the wall, absorbing visual stimulation as something to attach to. That's a big answer. But the artist that I am as a painter, you mean?
Yeah. I am open to both. I know you do more than painting.
Well,
as a painter, yes.
Yeah. I was not very creative as a kid, actually, because the aforementioned desperation. So there's not a lot of room to be creative. But in my early 20s, I started just free writing and discovered the creative process as a source of a connection to something that felt real in me that I had not previously felt, or if I had, maybe when I was very, very young. So there was a long interlude of drugs and alcohol where I wasn't feeling much, and then early 20s, I started writing and immediately latched onto that as, oh, this is the thing that will show me how to live and show me who I am so that I know how to live in the right way for me, whoever that is. And also, though, was the desperation to be the best writer. And being able to be engaged in the creative process and be the best at the same time creates a lot of tension. So I struggled living alone in a cabin in the woods, retreated from the world, all through my 20s, writing, trying to be a really good writer so that I could then bring my wares and myself into the world safely. And
having achieved being the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at about 29, I hit the wall with that and quit writing, and it was a huge leap for me. It was like I'm giving up my whole life's purpose. At 29, that's a big deal. Like, you don't realize there's still a lot of decades to suffer through. So it was a big leap, and I just was like, I'll just be an ordinary person. I'm not going to have anything. And that, I had a few months of being an ordinary person, and it was great. Until...
So you didn't jump straight from writing to painting?
No, I was nothing for a few months.
What kind of characterized nothing? What kind of characterized just, I'm normal?
Were you just at the grocery store every day?
You know what, I actually did a play, I auditioned for a play.
That's normal.
I mean, because I wasn't an actor, I was just doing fun community theater.
Okay.
I went to Spain.
I'm going to Spain.
Yeah.
I'm going to be normal soon.
It's so fun. But then I got inspired by being free and open and being able to just receive life. The visual world opened up to me, and I was like, oh, colors. There's forms and things everywhere. The world's beautiful. I want to paint. And so I started painting. I was 30 when I started painting.
That's so cool.
And I had a few good months of painting until I had to be the best painter. But I'm still sticking with it, trying to be a good painter and not always succeeding.
That's amazing.
yeah, the tension goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I'm hit hard. As someone who's 30 who just started painting.
As someone who went to school for writing, thought I have to be the best writer, and then, oh, I guess I'll be a consultant because I love PowerPoint more than poetry.
No, you do not.
So we're going to get into the sort of bad art that you brought, but before that, thought we could take a look at a little bit of the art that you do now, currently. How would you kind of characterize the art that you do now?
Well, about, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, I didn't have any, training or like connections or any art career business happening for quite a while. Yeah, and then I moved to the city after I started painting because I was like, I'm gonna go to the city and be a painter, and that all fell apart. But about 5 years ago, I finally kind of hit my stride and started making these big narrative paintings. Like having an idea, a story I want to tell, and so kind of connected to being a writer in that it's storytelling and a lot of symbolism, and so I started making these big paintings, and then.
Do you want to show me?
That one's called Canceled. That's like, I don't know, how tall is that? That's like 6 feet tall or something.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah. And these big paintings, though, were just, they are a trial for me to do because, I don't know, lots of reasons I don't need to go into, but I'm trying to execute an idea. So there's a lot of failure happening because it's never possible to execute an idea. You actually execute it, literally, when you try to do it. So, these big paintings are a real struggle, and they're not, it's not like exploratory and experimental and like I'll find it as I go. I kind of find things as I go, but it's mostly a process of finding that I can't do what I plan to do, and then I do what I can do. So these paintings took their toll on me, and I kind of hit a wall with them. A couple of years ago. This is the fall. Another big one, like, I don't know, 7 feet wide or so.
And then we have one.
And then this is Dirty Photo. This is from Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. There's an image in the book of a dirty photo of a woman trying to have sex with a pony. And so this is my imagined positions for that. And then, so this is my good art. And then okay. So, right.
So now we go back in time.
We can backstory. We can talk about hitting the wall. I also want to say, we really wanted to show her good art to give context for bad art, because sometimes we just show the bad art and we're like, that's actually good art.
It's really good.
Although it's still good art. So I'm confused.
I know, and sometimes I think my good art is bad art because it looks so contrived to me, because it is contrived. So in my head,
Because you contrived it.
yeah, because I contrived it up. So okay, so I guess
I thought of this.
I hate my thoughts.
Do you hate my thoughts? I really understand.
And the other trouble with the big paintings is the drawing. I was horrible at drawing as a kid, and I had this friend, Wendy Rowe, who was the good drawer in the class, and my best friend, and she could draw a horse. Look at this.
Look at that horse. That's
Wendy.
This is Wendy's good drawing.
And she's got like the tension on the lasso. She's got the foreshortening of the horses on the front. running at you.
She has perspective.
She has perspective.
What
And
the hell? How old are you? How old is she?
she was like, we were like, I don't know, 7.
What the hell?
Wow.
So I felt so inferior, and I tried to get drawing lessons. I asked Wendy to give me drawing lessons.
Oh.
So we sat side by side, and
Yes,
I love this.
I love it as well.
and that was my best horse.
Such a good horse. We can go to the next slide as well. I wanted to give a side by side. So this is a horse post lessons.
Yeah, this is like during our lessons.
Yeah.
This was as good as I got with the horse, and I mean, I got some of that nose lip contour that she was really good at, but
You really went your own way, which
no, I know. So what happened is I felt like with the big paintings, I just felt like I couldn't do them anymore because it was so frustrating. My drawing skills were so bad, and I couldn't, and my big drawings were, the process of doing those is like me basically overpowering myself. Like overpowering my vulnerability, my experimentation, my process of discovery. It's like, you're gonna make a big important painting, and this is how you do it, and you'd crank them out. And that's what I hit the wall with.
Yeah.
I just was so stressed and tense and
Yeah.
miserable, I couldn't make them anymore.
Yeah.
And then I came across these, and I did see what you see in my unicorn painting. Like, it's got some soul.
Yeah.
And-
Yes. I was about to be like, don't criticize it. It's got,
I know.
That's the kindest little unicorn I've ever seen.
I know, and it's like,
Well, yeah.
it's so innocent and like, I mean, right there by the pot of gold.
Oh. And it's like, I'm not. Life isn't about gold.
I know, and hopeful.
Life's about friendship.
And look at how I copied her tail. I did get her tail.
I
So then I decided to just kind of regress and pick up some of those pieces from my 7-year-old me.
Yeah.
And then I made my bad art,
Which is.
next slide.
Here we are.
There.
What is
I
this?
just made unicorns on placemats.
And I do want to know. Yeah. You just.
I love it.
What?
I want to know what drew you to placemats. Sorry. I'm sorry. I have to know this right now.
Yeah. No. Go. Why placemats? My question.
Well, you know how when you're not thinking, you're just following your instincts, and I don't know, I was buying placemats from thrift stores because they look cool, and then I just painted some unicorns on them because it looked cool on the placemats. But later, there's some meaning that you can find from your instinctual moves. And I was wondering, I mean, it's all kind of speculation, but if there was something to the placemats of nourishment,
And nourishment and unicorn.
yeah.
Meet me in the middle there.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Okay. Oh, I
Where you
got it.
Yeah.
I'm getting it. Yeah, no, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Do you want to show the next
We
one?
can go to the next one.
Yeah, we're really gonna get into it.
And
That's a placemat.
that was, directly from my first unicorn.
Mhm.
So this is my
You
bad
changed
art.
the tail.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
This is the bad art.
This is the bad art.
We do have to change the name of this show to Best Art.
Best art. Bring in your.
favorite art. That is Yeah.
I mean, I will say after finding out that you did unicorns on placemats, it has allowed, which is the best thing about art and creativity. We were like, huh, You can do that with that. If I can do that with that, what can I do with that? And if I can do this, I'm gonna do this with that. And that's been going on in my brain ever since the placemat.
Ooh, really?
I'm
Good.
looking at too many things in a way, sort of like, I could paint on you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do it.
All right, we want to talk a little bit more about Cate in the context of placemat unicorns. You're buying placemats, you think they're cool. You're painting unicorns on them, you've hit a wall. Where else are you in your life? What else is going on?
Well, let's see. What else is going on in my life besides this?
And if this was all consuming, that is also
That's okay.
That's okay.
It's like what you were doing.
Do you mean like how do
Artists
you
be
paint?
artists.
Yeah.
Do you mean like the how do you paint show, or do you mean more like my inner life?
Inner life, how do you paint show who you are to you at this time? When did the placemats happen?
Well, okay. I mean, this whole like this last hitting
This
of the wall.
Yeah.
That it was 2019. I had just finished a series of big shows, and stuff was going really good. And the meaning was starting to drain out of my whole project. I could just feel it. I was just like, why am I doing this? And and it was late 2019, and I just had this feeling of like, there's this sickness coming in me. Like there's a sickness. But I was also like, and I remember doing this drawing, it was like, maybe the world is sick.
Wow.
And then the world got
was
sick.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. Did you wish. Roadside Witch.
I didn't bring it, I don't think.
No.
But
Don't accuse our guests.
I have to leave this whole show.
burn the witch. So yeah, I couldn't go on. I just could not go on. And then the COVID thing happened, and then I was like, I gotta get out. I was living in the Bay Area. I had been making big narrative paintings that were really deep in a conversation about class and race and power. And that was starting to feel like, if I just keep making these paintings, especially now that I'm getting shows with these paintings, it started to feel like I'm just commodifying this whole idea rather than this being a meaningful conversation. If I just keep saying, like, why keep doing it? I've said what I've said here, and it started to feel like, now I'm just doing it because it's like to make art product, and that didn't feel meaningful. So yeah, the whole thing just started collapsing, and then the outer world started collapsing, and I moved up to the Mendocino coast because I had a really cheap place to live. Yeah, and I was able to quit my day job, and I kind of just dropped out. And it was horrible though, because I really wanted to just keep going with my painting. I canceled a show that I had scheduled because I just felt like I could not do it anymore. And that was like 3 years ago in November. It is November. Yeah,
It's November. It's November.
it was 3 years ago, like now. And I couldn't, and I was like fumbling with the big paintings, and yeah, I was just like going back to find some source of meaning that's from somewhere else. And, integrating parts of myself that had kind of got left behind in this striving to be an artist. And part of that process was starting to do the How Do You Paint show, which is a show I do on YouTube where I work on it's done now, the season is done, but I work on one painting. It's Bambi's mom getting shot. And it goes...
You're gonna watch.
I should have had
You're not gonna be able to stop watching.
I should have had that painting up here. But, oh well.
Well, now.
You have to watch the show. And that was a painting about Bambi's mom getting shot. It was Bambi's mom getting shot, and I'll stop saying that now. And
Bambi's mom got shot.
Bambi's mom got shot and killed. And it was sort of like making that painting and going back and dealing with my childhood trauma of my mom, of like abandonment, mother abandonment. Like my mom's mom got killed in a car wreck when she was 8 and she was in the car. And this was just like this trauma legacy that was like, you know, embedded in my consciousness as a kid. And so, you know, doing that show, like kind of narrating the inner experience and the process of painting was, you know, an integrating, transformative kind of process too.
Yeah. Sounds like we're gonna pause because we are gonna talk to you soon.
Okay, good.
But to wrap a little bit is like, anyway, what I'm hearing and what I'm always most terrified in growing up is when your own truth speaks louder than maybe your like current situation. Or like, you're doing this great art, it's being seen, you're being seen, until you realize you're like, actually, I'm no longer being seen, this isn't the work that feels right. This isn't the road I'm gonna keep driving down, and it's not necessarily a pain-free emergence.
Yeah, you gotta kind of give up the what has become the persona being seen and just be invisible for a while and see what you can see.
Go to Spain.
Good.
Put unicorns on placement. Before we do let you go for the first half, do we have any questions or anything from the cast?
You're great.
Because we're gonna get Kate back up here for a second half. But okay, amazing.
Any
Then
questions? No?
okay, let's
Then
let you go back to your
we have a
seat.
little work to do, audience, okay? So we're gonna say something. We're gonna say,
Keep making art. We believe in you. You're gorgeous.
to be continued.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi, thanks. That was really funny.
Yay! Yeah, quickly, give us notes.
Oh, sure. So, welcome back. We hope you had a great time out there.
I did, it was great, thank you.
So for the second half, we wanted to talk a little bit more about kind of where you are in your art today. Are you still, I know when we talked earlier, you had sort of mentioned the unicorns being the result of hitting a wall. How are you in terms of either hitting a wall, or are you taking detours these days in your art, or are you feeling more like centered in where you're going?
I feel like, you know, I should have brought you more images of bad art because there's so much actually. That's terrible. I mean, well, here, I can describe it. Yeah, the last 3 years, I have taken a ton of detours into a lot of bad things.
What constitutes a detour for you? Is it just moving away from that kind of big narrative type of painting, or do you feel?
That's a good question, because maybe none of it's a detour, you know?
Oh my God, it's all the same journey.
Yeah,
Wow.
Probably.
A lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm not dead or just sleeping all day, probably, you know, is part of the whole thing, the whole process. But I don't know, what did I do? At the beginning of that whole thing, I was very in my head trying to figure out what the hell was going on with myself and my life. And I kind of obsessively, you know, throw back to my 20s, writing in my journal. And I was kind of obsessively writing, and then I tried to get that out of my head by writing to people, like writing letters to people and sending them, but then recording them. And so I did a podcast of me writing these journal letters to people.
That's amazing.
So that's up there in the world as a thing that was an attempt to kind of, you know, keep going in some form.
Yeah.
And I just started, you know, I actually just let myself, you know, because I backed away from doing shows. I mean, I think some artists are more, I don't know, comfortable with their relationship with the world and feel like they can experiment and improvise with people watching, as in like for the next show, I'm just gonna experiment a little and take some risks. And I feel like I couldn't take enough risks to keep the process interesting for myself, so I had to stop having shows. So what I've been doing since I stopped having shows is doing, improvising in the studio, taking risks. For a while I was just doing like glue. I went to the thrift, I like going to thrift stores. I went to the thrift store and got everything yellow in the store, and then came home and like took pieces of everything, cut yellow out of everything, and like glued it all on a board of yellow things. And yeah, it wasn't though. And yeah, like doing all these like crafty, I got really into taking objects, textures, cutting them up, sticking them on other things, and going into more abstraction and more just kind of play with materials, all the while being like, what am I doing? Like none of the art was good. Like it wasn't turning into anything. It was, it was like I couldn't really. I was doing it to keep my hands busy and feel like I was still doing something in the studio, and the unicorns are all part of that. But not the ongoing question is, am I just shirking my duty to make my big paintings that I know I can make? And am I just trying to find like an easier, softer way through this? Like I can just play my way through. Isn't that what artists do? They just play, right? Isn't it about finding the play? But the play wasn't fun because it was like, for what? I'm not a child,
That's so interesting, yeah.
It's like, here's the hard thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go to the hard thing. I'll find a million other little things to do.
Yeah.
I could do the million other little things that have no stakes. But then I look at the
No
thing with
stakes.
stakes. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing your detours, and I'm like, there's a detour, a new little trap door to lower the stakes to trick yourself to do the thing, the hard thing.
Yeah.
Like you're learning painting, so the stakes are low, and then once you've learned painting, the stakes are back. And like, how do you keep?
And it's like the stakes thing is it. It's like if there's no risk, there's no reward. Like so. But I was all risked out. Like I was just so burnt out on walking that tightrope, And I wanted more fun in my process. And
Which is allowed. Which is allowed.
Right. It's just I've been searching for the fun, like how to find a more fun way to make the work. And I don't know that I found it. I mean, that dirty photo painting is actually a little more of a recent painting, and so some of the detours, experiments I've been doing are finding their way just incrementally into the big narrative paintings. Like some collage, elements and stuff. So maybe it hasn't all been for naught. Like maybe this is the process of my mature work, whatever, maturing more. You go.
What are you sure the question is on your mind? Well, I'm wondering if where we are now. Are there any projects you're in now? Are there projects you see or hope to try in the future? Those are two questions.
No. I'm gonna switch microphones with you.
Yeah.
Okay. That was cutting out, huh?
Better,
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. What am I doing now? Well, I have some big idea paintings in my head that I'll do. I'll keep going. I just keep going. I don't know what else to do. Like if I had some other idea of like I want to go to Spain or go to a play, I would do that. But I don't really have anything else that is calling me. So I'm just gonna keep. I do have a series started of snapshots of men from the 70s. I think there's something about men from the 70s that I'm interested in.
There's something about them.
Oh,
Where
and
did they go?
I'm definitely going to do another season of How Do You Paint? And I think I'm going to do, the one painting I'm going to do for the second season is my failed teenage initiation. So I did the childhood trauma, now I'm going to do the teenage trauma. Yeah, I'm like embarrassed to even say what it is right now, so you have to watch the show.
Okay, watch the show.
Damn it. I was like, we're gonna get her to say it.
I was a drunk teenage home wrecking slut.
Oh!
And a redneck.
And you know what? It's all part of the same journey. It's all
Just a detour of my life. Drunk teenage home wrecking slut. Redneck. Wow, I really do want to know more about that. I really want to know more about that. I want to take us back for a second before we jump forward, but we talked about how you became a painter. I want to also add on that question to you of like, artist, when did artist become something that you identified as and let yourself be?
Well, when I really wanted an identity really badly. So, as soon as I wrote my first poem, I was like, I'm a writer now. So, it pretty quickly after I started painting, I was like, now I'm a painter.
I'm heavily guilty of doing something once and calling myself, identifying as the thing. Skateboarded once, kind of a skater. Once.
And then you're stuck with it for the next 30 years.
Yeah, that skateboard in my living room, yeah. I'll tell you no more than that.
I mean, I don't know. I think as a kid, you're supposed to like look back, like, what did you want to be when you were a kid? That's your true essential self. Like, find that again. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be just famous. And
Yeah, we get it.
I don't identify at all.
Famous. Huh. Tiring.
I know. And that's a horrible life's goal, actually, I think. So yeah, I'm trying to be a real artist, which is like doing it for the communion with myself or creating myself through the process.
Yeah.
Which does kind
Same.
of go into, I would say, we like to ask what to you makes good art good. Does that kind of feed into that when you say real artist? Is that kind of what you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think that what makes, I don't know, the kind of art that I really like, I mean, I love outsider art. I love like art that is so just, not contrived. Like you just see that the person just discovered it in the doing of it, completely idiosyncratic, invested in something that didn't exist before, like that kind of just, commitment to your own, unique vision or discovered thing. And that's what I love. I mean, I love improv for that. Like, I wish that I could just improvise my paintings. But when I try to do that, there's not enough there. I'm just like crafting, gluing shit together, and it doesn't go anywhere. So it's frustrating. Like, I feel like what makes good art, like the kind of art that has that soul spirit to it, I don't know. I have glimpses of that in my more planned art, but I need the structure and the plan to have, like, to stay engaged. So yeah, good art to me, I don't know, it's the art that somehow walks that line of like discovery and structure, maybe. Like there's enough structure there that there's something to like attach to, but it seems to have just like come from some unconditioned place.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd argue, like, I don't know if any improvised arrival doesn't have some sort of structure supporting it getting there.
Yeah.
Like, I look at other artists and I'll be like, they just pooped that out? No, I don't.
I know. That's why it helps hearing other artists' process, because it's like, it like people look at my work and they're like, wow, it looks so free and you're having so much fun. I'm just like, no. None of that is going on.
My drawing teacher in college used to, like, other kids would be like, I'm free and fun, and my drawing teacher would know to walk by me and be like, I'm gonna leave Kylie, we're gonna get 10 feet away from Kylie, because I'm like,
I know! Me too!
Yeah.
As a child, you were like that?
Mom. She's gone! Mom, was I an angry child? Yes, I was. I can feel it.
Why do you think?
Well, my mom's here. I was thinking, well, this isn't interviewing me, but I was a little truth teller as a kid, and not many people liked that. And I was really.
Yeah, go on.
So I got into my art.
Lie down.
I'm so sorry. So I got into my art. I was an angry kid for so many reasons. I hated rules that had no reason to be there, and there were so many. And I wasn't really allowed to feel. Don't tell me I can't feel something. I will do it. Any more questions? So what? Are you kidding me off the stage from my
Well,
Oscars?
when I do it, I'll start a podcast just so I can continue this conversation. Entertaining.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
In the painting we saw of the person in the
Stocks.
thank you,
Cancer.
there was a croissant on the ground. Can you just
Can we go back to the painting?
say about the croissant?
I can say that, well, the croissant is one of the food
Yeah.
bits
Yes.
of many foods being thrown, rotten fruits and vegetables. And why is there a croissant? Because I wanted the people throwing the food to be identified as kind of bougie, fancy people.
Wow.
Is that where they threw a duck also? Is the duck foot?
The duck is actually throwing something.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these aren't just people hands.
Right. There's animals. There's a baby in the
I
flames.
was gonna say, is there child hands? Yeah.
Oh, the socks. Okay, the socks and flip flops. You know, the devil has a cloven foot. So I wanted him to be wearing. That was the how to have a cloven foot. Because isn't that how it happens when you wear flip flops with socks? You have a double foot.
That is incredible, and I'm never gonna look at anyone that does that again the same. Satan's workers walk among us.
My dad is Satan's worker.
Yeah, many fathers are.
Yeah.
I looked at your dad.
He's not a Satan's. He's not. My dad's a good man. He is. I love you, Dad.
Any other questions that we have?
Thank you. I think we're saying thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing best art.
Yeah.
For this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I'm so excited to go see her on YouTube. How to paint. Cate White. How to paint.
How do you paint?
How do you paint?
It's okay. Everybody gets it wrong. It's a terrible title.
How do you paint Cate White? You won't be able to put it down if you're trying to binge something. Okay, we had a writer's strike recently. TV's down.
YouTube's up. All right, and smash that subscribe button.